So we're finally able to get back to the Courier. I'm ready to get the radiator mounted, which seems like one of the last major steps. Well, besides getting the oil system worked out in the computer, but mechanically, the factory radiator mounted there, and there's another peg kind of down there, and another one down there. And I'm going to build upon that. Here's the factory mount for, well, one of them for the lower side. I'm just going to kind of duplicate it because it's not quite the right size. And I think we're going to tie into that bolt right there. And then we have a matching one on this side. They both just, they're in a good spot. This is about where I want the radiator. I'm going to have it spaced out just a hair to give us some wiggle room. So just, I mean, really, I'm just going to make like 2 of these brackets, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do on the top yet. I have a couple of mounting locations there and there that I might be able to tie into and have some sort of like upside down U-shaped bar, but I got to worry about the radiator cap and the hose. And I'm just not sure. We'll cross that bridge when we get there, once we get the bottom 2 done, and see kind of what's going to make sense for us. Okay, so I had a little bit of a change in plans. The factory radiator mount was set up kind of like this, where I had a rubber grommet and a bracket, and then that hole there just lines up there. So end up with a pretty snug fit, and then there's another one down there on the bottom side that you can't see, same for over there. So instead of making a bracket that goes all the way around the fan, or all the way around the radiator, using the little bolt holes we got and the mounting brackets down there, I'm just going to set up 3 brackets. This one's going to come here, and then around the side, and then down to probably that right there, put a bolt there, and then same on the bottom. Just kind of have one here, and then it'll just be like U-shaped up to that bolt, and then same right there, just kind of U-shaped over to that bolt. It's going to save me a lot of time, save a lot of metal. And I mean, I'm just going to be able to take like a strip like this, drill a 15/16 inch hole in it, and then bend it as needed, because that'll sit right in there. And then the plan is to get a washer. I've already tried drilling this one out, just to make the metal a little bit thicker. So that way it kind of matches the thickness of the bracket that they used on the Honda from the factory. And then that way it'll fill up that whole ridge in there, keep this rubber grommet sitting nice and tight, which in turn should keep the radiator nice and tight. So, been having a lot of issues drilling the hole in here. The washer started out about like so. I was able to get it out that big with my cone bit, but seeing as I only have 2 strips to hold on to it, it's not working. So I'm going to take these to work, and we have a drill press there where I can drill them out with my cone bit a lot easier. And for now, we're just going to work on the brackets, and then once we get the washers cut out, we can go in and then just weld them in where we need them. So just we'll get the brackets made and catch up there. Alright, so you can see what I'm going for. Grommet again, and it just there we go. You can see it just popped in there. And then we have some extra wiggle room. And that's where, so I'm doing this one-handed. And that's where the space from this washer comes in. See, it pretty much takes up that gap. So just get this turned into a bracket. Do that 3 more times and it should be ready to go. Okay, so as you can see, I got the radiator bracket, one of them in here. And instead of tying into this bolt here, tied into the stud I had over here, just because it's kind of hard to tell now that I have the bolt back in place, but this, like, spacer here is built into the frame, so I would have had to cut a hole around it and stack washers or something to get it to, like, press tightly. It wouldn't have worked well. So ended up, and it was a little bit easier. I didn't have to bend anything to connect to the stud over here. On the passenger side, you can kind of see what I was dealing with. That's what I was going for originally. That's where I ended up going. And these studs are for the skid plate, the factory skid plate that goes on here. That's not there yet, but it shouldn't interfere with it any. And so yeah, got my grommet in there. Got just basically a flat plate with a spacer, which is just half of a piece of square tubing that I cut into more of like a U, and then just another plate there. So it's not, if I hang on it, it'll probably break. You can see there's some movement there, but I'm gonna see once I have the other one in there, I might tie them together, or I might just see, because I mean, it's a tiny radiator. It's not gonna have more than maybe a half a gallon to a gallon of coolant in it, so I mean, it's not going to weigh that much, so I don't know how well secure it has to be in there. We're already going to have 3 brackets, so I'm just going to get the other one knocked out and then probably do the same thing there. So we'll just catch up when I'm doing the top mount here. I got the first half of the top mount done here, so you can see just a simple bolt, little L piece over to the top piece, top mount of the radiator, same hole, grommet, no big deal. And then the second half of it's going to be like a flat piece kind of sliding down in there, come in all the way across, and then it's going to go down, and then it's going to keep coming across here to the reservoir that I've been working on. Yeah, you can see I already got the upper radiator hose about ready to go in. I'm going to have some sort of bracket that kind of holds it a little further away, and I mean, you know, it may not be perfect, but it'll get the job done. And then this, I mean, you guys have seen me make plenty of stuff. It's just a box that fits in a hole. The most difficult part is probably cutting out this piece using, you know, cardboard and, you know, making that fit and then trace it onto here. And then this piece, just kind of like weld it here, bend it, weld it, bend it, weld it, bend it, and then do the same on the other side. And then over here I have the water, it's going to be the outlet from my reservoir here. Sorry about my mess station, been super busy. But yeah, so that's where it's going to go into the radiator, and then I have it kind of an L piece going down to pick up from the bottom of the reservoir. Just so, yeah, no, as you're bleeding air out and whatever, it just helps filter out the air bubbles. I think Ford calls them the degas bottle. Ugly welds, ground down, have to go back and touch them up. But I mean, this is all just simple like pipe fitting I bought at Lowe's. It's pretty ugly, but it's gonna get the job done. And this is gonna be the other radiator hose here, the reservoir hose, gonna kind of come out like so. Kind of. You can see I got my radiator hose there. Just got to cut it and line up once I have this in place. And I'm just kind of making fittings out of like pipe thread. As you can see, I have one here that I'm just getting ready to put on. I figured I'd stop and show. It's probably still hot. But yeah, just kind of cut the flange off of an elbow or a straight piece. They didn't have any straight pieces, so that's why I bought an elbow. And then one of the male-to-male connectors. The threaded piece was actually one long one, so it was like thread, gap, and then more thread, so I cut it there just because this is going into the reservoir. That's going onto the hose. I wanted more to grab onto the hose because that's going to be welded to the reservoir. And then, you know, just kind of welded the inside, and then it'll fit real nicely in that pipe. Yeah, you kind of get the idea. It fits real snug in there. Weld it on, and then just cut I already have a hole kind of marked where I need to cut it, and we'll be all set. So probably not going to come in time, but because I want to get this video up. I'm also getting a flat plate here, and I have it's like a radiator neck coming in, metal, so I can weld it onto the flat piece. Just because this is, well, at least my plan is to have it sit just a hair higher than the radiator. And this is probably where it'll be filled from. And I'm going to get one of the radiator caps that I can bleed the air out of with that red lever. And so that way, radiator will be full all the time. And I'll have a reserve pressurized reserve here. So help just increase the volume of the cooling system, because radiator small, not a whole lot in the engine. In case the fan goes out, I want to be able to idle for a little while, you know. As we can see here, I got everything finished up. Well, as far as it's going in this video, you can see I got my inlet to the reservoir here finished up. Got my hose cut, has a pretty nice fit, just need to get some clamps. Same with this one. And then I decided I'm gonna wait until I have the rest of this bracket finished, and then I'll basically just secure that hose to the bracket, pull it away from the engine a little bit so they don't rub. And then I'm waiting on actually some epoxy I ordered to line this tank from leaks and just help kind of reinforce everything. And then also a steel radiator neck that I'm gonna be able to use as like a top for the reservoir here, so I can put a radiator cap on it that's like pressure rated, and then just kind of box this in. And once I have the top piece plated in, is when I'll be able to finish my bracket. It's going to come down here to across all the way here to help kind of keep the radiator from flexing so much and give me a place to mount this. And I mean, I have another lip mounting hole here. So that radiator neck's I want to weld it on the inside and the outside of the top plate, so I have to wait until I have it before I can put the top plate on. So we'll do all of that in part 2 of the cooling system. I think next I'm probably going to start on mounting some batteries, which are going to be right in front of the tire, under the bed back there probably. I'm going to look around for a better spot maybe, but so far that's the best I found, and we'll hopefully run some power up here with a couple of batteries and, you know, just keep on making progress slowly but surely.